Good to see you. Good to see you.
Nice to see everyone. So good evening, Mr. Chairman and fellow members of the BT. I'd like to present the assessor's report for March 2021. The most important thing is the Board of Assessment Appeals held their hearings the first week of March. They made all their deliberations on March 5th. The reduction this year to the grand list is $19,793,600, and that is well below the estimated $45 million that I had estimated and based upon last year's. So we were in much better shape. We sent notices out on March 11th, and property owners will then have 2 months to file to Superior Court. So if there's any, we will know by mid-May how many tax appeals to Superior Court will have. The 2021 revaluation, hopefully if the weather warms up again in the next couple of weeks, we will resume field inspections. We have about 1,200 residential properties left to view. Hopefully we will do that. That will be our priority, and we'll be able to get that done sometime around June. Does anybody have any questions for me this evening?
If I can ask, I don't think I can, I'm not sure I can raise, oh, I can raise my hand.
You're a co-host, but I think you can.
I can. So I just wanted to point out, in your report, you indicated that there was no actions on any of the tax appeals in court, and just to confirm that.
No, we have not done much with the tax appeals. I did do, we did have one inspection with Cohen and Wolf a couple weeks ago, but other than that, no, we have not had any settlements or pre-trials that have been successful.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Trying to raise my physical hand.
Mr. Drake?
Lauren, on the topic of the housing owned by the nonprofit schools, I know a great deal of work was done earlier and communications were sent out. Could you give us in the very short summary of where it all stands, what's left to do?
So we received responses from all of the non-public private schools. And I sent out a follow-up letters that said, thank you very much for their input. And now it is with my liaisons, and we're going to try to figure out what the next step is. And we have not made any determinations at this point. So this grand list year will be whatever we have taxed in the past, we will continue taxing. Whatever we have not taxed in the past, we will continue to do that. So we have not changed anything for the 2020 grand list. It will remain the same as of the 2019 grand list.
Thank you. That's great. Very helpful.
Anyone else? I don't see any hand.
So I move that we approve the assessor's report.
I have a second. I have a motion by Ms. Harkins, a second by Mr. Raymer.
What's that?
Okay.
All those,
Voice vote.
I'll quickly say, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That was unanimous.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully this weather will break and we can get that stuff finished up, but it was kind of chilly out last night. Okay, brings us to the controller's report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and BET members. Can you all hear me? Because I had a little trouble with my computer getting in. Okay, good.
Okay.
I have, I think, at least 3 items later and under old business and new business. I was going to just open it up to questions. Just wanted to give you an update. We are doing the RFP for financial advisory services. We put the RFP out and there was 3 responses. And I actually had a conversation with Bill Lindsay this morning. I haven't spoke to him in quite a while. And anecdotally, he told me the story where he's working on, and I know it's not related to tonight's agenda, the pension obligation bond for West Hartford. And I was stunned when I found out that they're borrowing $350 million to make their pension fund whole. I don't know how they got that through, and they're going to market in the next couple of months, but the RFP process is proceeding. If we don't need him until, or we don't need his successor until we go to a POB, pension obligation bond. Otherwise, we won't use the services till late fall, early winter. But other than that, I'll open it up to any questions on the controller's report.
Mr. Deuce.
Pete, just a quick correction on your third page, second paragraph. The funding ratio would be brought up to 90%, not the unfunding. It's the second paragraph on your third page.
Well, you cut off. What was the question?
It's an observation. You make reference to the unfunded liability going up to 90% with the POB. It would be the funding liability or the funded liability.
Oh, okay.
The funding ratio.
Yeah, good catch.
Small point,
Sorry.
For the record.
Ms. Moriarty's hand is up.
Yeah, I just wanted to refer to your discussion about GASB, your
87 leases.
87. I don't think I've ever seen a statement like you put in this report, just saying that this will be the largest challenge for your department to get ready to comply, and just to acknowledge the effort it'll take. My understanding from you is that the effort is all primarily at the front end.
It's-
Calculations, getting the software, and then on an ongoing basis, it's easier to maintain. Is that correct?
It's mostly correct. It's on the front end. It's not only the finance department, it's a town-wide effort. The Board of Education is part of this. They might have the bulk of the task as far as identifying the leases. Yes, the front end is the hardest part, because we're going into this, and this is why later on when we're hiring the CLA to help us, we have a number of questions like the BET had last week during the meetings. It's the hardest part is maintaining it. We have to keep track of the leases as they come and go, as we get new leases as they fall off, and when I talked about it last week, it goes to the GASB 34 pronouncement, my criticism of GASB 34, where I mentioned that every finance director in North America and Canada was against GASB 34, which is it's the financial reporting model that complicates the annual financial report. This is in the view of not only my department, every department throughout the country, a task that it doesn't bring it. There's no returns. It's something that the credit agencies don't look at. It's a number that goes to the front of the annual report. It gets lumped in with all the other liabilities. You really have to dissect the GASB 34 section of the liabilities to figure out the value of what you're putting in there. But as far as my comment is that it's not only the finance department, it's a town-wide and Board of Education effort.
Do the departments have the resources to get the information that you need?
Yes, they have the resources. It's the effort is maintaining it, keeping track of it. There's an education process. There's going to be training once we get on board with this. Again, this is it starts July 1st, and it goes forward, and we won't know until we're totally successful and we don't get written up by the auditors for missing leases until 2 annual reports from now. So this is like a learning process for everybody in the country.
Thank you.
Mr. Deuce's hands up, followed by Ms. Hess.
Pete, thank you. Thank you very much for this big effort. I know this is something you've been focused on for the last couple of years, if I recall correctly. And this is
Yes.
This is really a tribute to your whole team that you're able to made so much progress on this. A question came up earlier, and I think we discussed this briefly in the audit committee meeting. We have both, we're both a lessee and lessor. And do you have a sense for whether or not we'll have more booked to the assets or more booked to the liabilities when we complete the study?
No, that's what this is all about later when we talk about hiring CLA.
Yeah,
I think that the rental income is pretty easy. We have to run our rental income, whether it's the parking services rental income from the plaza or it's the cell tower. They're easy to trace. It's when we are trying to figure out which leases are going into this equation where it becomes difficult. It's identifying leases, and then it's putting a value on the leases. And one of the questions that came up last week was, what discount rate do you
Right.
use to come up with the present value? Actually we had a meeting a couple hours after that meeting with the CLNA, and I asked that question, and they said if the interest rate is not included in the lease, we use the 20-year municipal bond rate. And I actually got that rate from Bill Lindsay last week for 2.85%. And then that's a rate that will change each year.
Hmm.
But no, to answer your question, it's the lessee. I think where the impact on the annual financial report is going to show up on the lessee portion, not the lessor.
so I think you answered the question earlier. You said the agencies will not look at this, but if there is a impact on a perceived credit quality, would it be negative or positive at this point, if you can say?
It shouldn't have any impact on
Okay.
the credit quality
Okay.
of the annual report. What we disclose in the GASB 34 section of the report.
Thank you.
So,
Hess followed by Ms. Tarkington.
Thank you. Yeah, Pete, you've been talking about this for a couple of years. I will just tell you my experience on the public company side is they've been dealing with this for many years, and it's somewhat of a full employment act for accountants, and is mind numbing in terms of the amount of work that needs to go into this, and not only the upfront but the ongoing. And I know we're going to talk about it later, but I figured since we're talking about it now, I don't want to say it's a waste of time, but it doesn't add value. And so I'm fully supportive of having somebody who can come in and do a lot of the heavy lifting. You're still, as a town and the Board of Ed, are going to have to do work, but I'd rather have you all do things that are kind of more meaningful and adds more value to the town. So I'm completely supportive of hiring the firm to help with this. But thank you, because I've implemented things like this before, and I know what a heavy lift it can be, not just for your department, but getting the information out of all of the other departments that it's really just not a priority and not that important to them. So thank you for this effort and all that you're doing.
Thank you.
Ms. Tarkington followed by Mr. Weisbrot.
Yes, you just a follow-on point here. I agree. Thank you, Pete, and for everyone who'll be involved. It's a big project, but also I wanted to comment. I think there are also some leases with the housing authority and so forth. So those also will be on the asset side, and also just looking ahead to what the residual value of these assets are too. Can complicate the matter. So it's a big process, and as you point out, it's going to change every year as we lease in and lease out. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weisbrot.
yeah, just at the risk of repeating things, but to be on the record, agreeing very much with Deborah that the impact that I understand on the town's credit worthiness or in any other material respect is going to be very minor, if anything at all. Is that correct, Pete?
I can't quantify it at this time. That's the whole purpose of what we're going to talk about when we're talking about it now. But hiring CLA is to quantify what leases need to go on there. At this point, no one in the department has any idea what the dollar amount's going to be.
Yeah,
This
but
is-
whatever the dollar amount is within reason, all it does is get reflected on the balance sheet in a way that has, as I can see it, virtually no impact on the ability of the town to meet debt service requirements and otherwise. Am I in the right
No,
direction?
no, I agree. And to Deborah's comment, it doesn't really add value to the annual financial report. It's just another number that's going to go on there to repeat. I don't know what the purpose of this GASB statement is.
I got it. Thanks. That was all.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay, anyone else on the controllers report or on this item first? If I may, I just want to step in. So we know the whole department's been busy with this, and there's this little budget thing going on. We kind of do once in a while. That's been going on. Peter also got dragged into an early morning meeting to help out with Megan on the insurance claim for the Board of Ed building in North Miamis. So he's on top of that as well. You'll see in his report. We've directed everything to go to the audit committee for the how that project goes over there. So, I mean, it's been a full month. It's busy time. So I really, when I read the controls report, I said, wow, it's really, the workload right now is hopefully we'll be over the hurdle here in a month or so. So anything else on the controls report? Can I get a motion that we accept the controls report for March 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Tarkington, seconded by Mr. Deuce. All in favor? Any opposed or any abstentions? I'm going to show that Mr. Drake as 1200.
Yes.
Treasurer's report. Can I get a motion for the treasurer's report this is February 2021?
I move we accept the treasurer's report.
And do I have a second? Seconded by Ms. Hess. Discussion? I had a question on it myself. I can't remember what my question was. I'll have to come back to it. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying with a hand. Are there any opposed or any abstentions? I have one abstention. So, Mr. Drake, I'll show that as 1101, and that's Ms. Crumick. Okay, I did not receive any notifications for any of our standing committee or liaisons. I'm sure, as you know, we're all out there covering the various projects and meetings that we're assigned to, and obviously we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we get a little further down the agenda. Special project team, labor contractor, fire study, no updates on either one of those at the moment. Old business approval.
Mike, can I just interrupt for a second? I just wanted the board to know that tomorrow and P&Z, the Eastern Greenwich Civic Center is going for final site approval. So that's on the agenda for tomorrow night.
Oh, I did not know that. Thank you. Did not know that. Okay, old business. This is an item carried over from last month. It was moved to our meeting. There was some dialogue about some changes. Those changes are redlined. Ms. Erickson?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept the annual report, actually, as it was submitted to us in December. I think some of the comments that I had suggested, I'm not sure if Shira got everyone's response from some of the department heads. I think it's just easier just to accept it as it was previously submitted. There is language in there that people can email or get in touch with the BET if changes are to be made. But rather than to prolong this, I suggest we just accept it and move on.
I'll second that.
That motion by Ms. Erickson, seconded by Ms. Moriarty. So this is a motion I'll call for discussion. This is a motion to accept the annual report as it was presented to us originally in December. Discussion.
Question?
Mr. Minarski.
There was some edits. You want the edits incorporated in minor housekeeping edits, correct? You want that?
I would love for the minor housekeeping edits to be, yes, to be included, but there were just some very few comments, and I think Shira had reached out to some department heads or chairs of boards, and I'm not quite sure if she got a full response. So rather than prolong this, I just would like to move it forward. But yes, obvious grammatical or
Okay,
yes.
So the group-
Pete, I had gone through the report and the ones that needed some sort of response was page 62, 63, 167, and 168. So all the others were either grammatical or, just some formatting issues. But those 4 pages needed responses from departments.
So if I can take the leisure, so Ms. Erickson's motion is to accept all of accept the report with all the grammatical changes and except for the omission of those two sections that the departments didn't respond to. As I understand your motion revised, correct?
Well, there's four pages that require some responses from.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying, Karen. I'm saying let it go. Let's just
Yeah.
Accept it as it was submitted, and we can worry about it or not next year.
Okay, but what I'm telling Pete is the red lines on pages 62, 63, 167, and 168 should not be changed. It should just revert back to the original document.
That doesn't, guys, if you've made some changes, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that we.
They weren't made though, Beth. They were comments that were made that there were no changes made.
But Mr. Minarski is saying there were some edits that were put in, weren't they?
The other edits, what we're saying is with the exception of those 4 pages, the others were grammatical or spelling or other things that we're accepting.
So you can accept it as it was edited.
Yes.
yes, that's what I'm asking.
That's what he's asking. Correct. You're
Right,
on the
except for those 4 pages is what
right,
I'm
except for
saying.
those 4 pages. Okay, further discussion. I'll try it with a hand up. All those in favor of Ms. Erickson's motion to accept? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm showing all the hands. Is there anyone opposed or abstaining? Mr. Drake, I'm going to show that as 12-0-0. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. New business. Mr. Minarski. First item.
This is housekeeping. This is the single audit, federal and state compliance report as of June 30th of 2020. That's normally accepted along with the annual financial report, which we discussed last week at the audit committee meeting. It's basically housekeeping to accept this, which has been forwarded to the Office of Policy and Management after 2 extensions.
Okay, discussion on the item? I'm seeing none. Okay, Ms. Erickson's hands up.
I don't know if Mr. Drake wants to report, but the audit approved this item 4-0.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay, further discussion?
Was there a motion, Mr. Chairman?
I didn't, I was just gonna say, I will need a motion to accept. I just called on
So
friend of the audit committee.
with,
So I'll need a motion to
with-
accept.
with Laura's help, I'll just make the motion on behalf of the committee. As she said, we approved it 4-0.
Okay, thank you. Okay, further discussion? Okay, show of hands, approving, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, is there anyone voting no? Or abstaining? I'm gonna put that as 12-0-0, Mr. Drake.
Yes,
Our next item, Mr. Drake.
the next item is approval to use CLA to do the work on GASB 87, the complexity that we talked about a few minutes ago. And again, the audit committee voted for nothing to approve this use and this task for CLA. And Mr. Minarski can add any comments that anyone needs.
Mr. Minarski?
I think we discussed it at length. I'll entertain other questions, but just to be clear, not everyone was at the audit committee call last week. This is not a transfer. It's not a supplemental appropriation. These are monies that are already approved in the outside auditors. This is not the internal audit program. This is the annual audit, and RSM US LLP declined to take this up. They felt it was a conflict, and we went out to CLA. So again, this is not a transfer. It's just approval to use CLA to help implement in the GASB 87 process.
Okay. Discussion, further discussion? I see no hands up, so.
I guess did we make the motion from the audit committee? If not, I'd like to make a motion on behalf of the audit committee.
Okay. We have a motion seconded by Ms. Haas. Okay, no further discussion. Can we do a show of hands for the approval to use Clifton,
Mr.
Larson, Allen, CLA to provide the GASB 87 leasing assistance? Is there anyone opposed or abstaining?
It looks to be unanimous.
I'm going to put that down as 1200. All right, the
Mr.
next
Chair-
challenging topic of the
Mr.
evening.
Chairman,
Yes,
just a quick question.
yes.
If that came from a committee, then it doesn't need a second. Am I correct?
If it comes from a committee, it does not, but it's put on our agenda as a new business item. So it's not an action item like in the beginning of our agendas where you have your applications. So that's why we do a motion on those. Historically, we've done motions on those. Okay, so we have a little bit of a discussion ahead of us here. So the governor's directive is changing effective Friday. It's allowing more people indoors, allowing more people outdoors. I believe we're still going to be permitted to stay in the electronic meeting world that we're in. Our schedule right now, and we've been looking at the times, and right now, as I understand our schedule, on the 29th of this month, we have a public hearing. 6:30 at night. It'll be electronic. Ms. Moriarty, Ms. Faslotis, and Roland are working on the language for that, how people sign up and how they could send in comments. We'll have a deadline, and those comments become part of the permanent record. We've done public hearings before, so I think we're okay there. I had a request to move the workshop, which is the 30th, and decision day, which is the 1st, from late in the afternoon, our normal start times, to earlier in the day. I've tried to find the best consensus I have, and I can do the workshop at 11:30 and decision day at 11:30 in the morning. We can go during the day. And then tonight, that Mrs. Tarkington threw us a curveball because decision day on the 1st is the day before the 3-day weekend in Town Hall. Town Hall's closed on the 2nd for the holiday weekend. So as Ms. Geiger said, the Town Hall will be closing for that 3-day weekend at 4 o'clock. Leaves us some dialogue to have. Number one is how we're having the meeting. I'll get to that, and then I'll work back to that. If the times are okay, I think my stomach is telling me we should start decision day on the 1st. And at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when Town Hall closes, we suspend the meeting and we return on the 6th. That's one suggestion. We are not bound by the charter to do anything other than the 5th of May. So we're okay that way. Even if you remember last year when the first postponement came out, we still were within the boundary of the charter. So one suggestion is to start on the 1st, 11:30 in the morning, decision day, and then at 4 o'clock, call it a day, and then return on Tuesday the 6th. That's a suggestion, just one suggestion. Ms. Crumick?
Why would we start at 11:30? Why wouldn't we start at 9?
Because originally I had the meeting scheduled for the afternoon, and I got a request to move them up earlier, which I'm okay with. And that's about the only time I could get a consensus between people's appointments. Because originally, if you look at the town calendar, the workshop was at 5 o'clock, and BET decision day, I had already talked about at a previous meeting, having to slide that back about an hour or so. But I mean, I just don't think we want to. I have a request to do this earlier. Mr.
You're
Menard,
saying it's a hard stop at 4 though, right?
That would be on decision day. That's because of town hall.
Right. So is there any way of getting people to adjust their schedules so you could start it at 9 and give the board a opportunity to, a full shot,
I've
getting
been,
it done by
I've
4?
been working on that as we go. And when we talk about how we're going to do the next meeting, that'll even make this discussion a little bit more interesting. Mr. Menarski.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Karen Fasiolatis and Roland Geiger. We've already posted the public notice, a very expensive public notice in the Greenwich Time that states specifically,
Starts at 11.
does it say 11?
I believe
No,
it did.
no, it says 9.
Oh, it does say 9.
So my question through
didn't
the
catch that.
chair to Roland and Karen is, because that's a very expensive advertisement, how do we get around reposting that?
Very
Do we?
simple. We're not going to repost it. We're just going to put out the story about just this change in the start time. That's all.
Okay.
All the material's the same. None of that's changing. But the question is, even if we were leave that aside, still town hall closes that day at 4:00. So that's really the challenge. Now let's talk about how we're going to have the meeting. I think that we're pretty good at working together, but this decision day might be better if everybody has their own device and we social distance and spread out, and for those that are willing, in town hall meeting room, and have decision day work that way in a square, or it'll be Zoom. It'll look like this, but at least put together, and just got to make life easier. It's just because the Zoom meetings, they work, but the process is just, it's.
Mike, can I just back up a second? Pete and Roland, when is the legal notice set to run in the Greenwich Time? Roland, you're muted.
I think it's already in.
It was on Saturday.
Oh, it was on Saturday? Okay.
Yes.
So my suggestion would be to just post, just send them another notice saying correction of time. Well, we'll work on language and we'll get it in, just so that it's posted.
That's one way to do things, but Pete is telling us it's expensive. The other option, if the board wanted to do it, is to open the meeting at 9 and continue it for 2.5 hours. It takes about a minute. You can pass that with 7 people, and it saves you this money and still accomplishes what you want to do at 11:30.
Why don't we just do it at 9?
Yeah, my question is that.
I think there's some members that can't make the early thing. Wasn't that, Mike, why you had to
Yes, I
schedule it at
ran
11:30?
into conflicts when I tried to move it earlier. So let's talk about how we're having a meeting. Who does this? It would be easier for Pete and Roland. It would be easier to have the screen that the budget committee has when they're making deliberations, everything on the big screen. So Roland does an input, takes $5 from here, puts it there. You can see what the impact is to the budget. I would think, I don't think everybody can make it that day to be live, but it could be helpful if we're there. So I'm giving, we're all going to have our own device, because we're not going to be able to use the system that Leslie, Jeff, and Andy used, because that camera is fixed and it only works for those maybe 4 positions. Maybe you could do 6 positions, but I'm thinking of a socially distanced square. Roland can have the projector on the screen and we can just host a meeting that way. Any thoughts?
That there's one person's vote that would be a workable way for me.
I mean, I could do it as well, assuming we can socially distance in the town hall. So, yeah.
Oh, it would just be us, Peter, Roland, maybe Angela going back and forth if she's printing stuff or doing stuff, something like that. But that's easily done. And it'll still be in other words, imagine if we were in town hall right now, it would be this meeting exactly as you see it. Okay. It's just, we would be together, and it would make Roland's life a lot easier sharing documents.
So to revert back to the scheduling for a moment, if the day is shortened so that we don't start until 11 or 11:30 and then have to finish by 4 or 4:30, so that we end up bumping over to another day, are we clear that everybody is able to return on the subsequent day?
I picked the 6th, that's the Tuesday. And that's why this is why I put this on the agenda, because I knew this was the holiday, Good Friday Town Hall being closed, that I didn't catch.
So with us all here right now, do you want to see if there's anybody? I mean, I could return on the 6th. I wonder if there's anybody who would not be able to.
Ms. Cruiser?
My question was not regarding this. It was just if, just to clarify, is there any limitation as to the number of people that can be in town hall? Can we all be there?
Oh, that room is.
Yes, 25. I think it was 25 for social distancing.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I was gonna
By the
say
way-
24, but
And that's another dialogue, but with the new directive, it is just social distancing and masks.
So back to the 6th.
Okay, back to the 6th.
Is there anyone who can't make the 6th? I know this isn't always easy for everybody, but if is there anyone who can't make the 6th?
Ms. Cruiser, 6th, is that okay as a second day? Ms. Hess? Ms. Tarkington?
yes,
Ms. Moriarty?
Works for me.
Mr. Drake?
Good for me.
Ms. Erickson?
I may be phoning in, but I can make it work.
Okay. Mr. Deuce?
It's good for me.
Ms. Vassilotis?
It's okay with me.
Ms. Crumick?
It's okay with me.
Mr. Weisbrod?
Yeah, fine.
Mr. Geiger? You first.
Yes.
Would we like to set a time, Mr. Chairman? Pick a time.
If we're gonna do the 6th, let's do this. What time you want? 9 o'clock?
We have the OPEB and IAC, don't we?
Okay, pick a time.
I think
11?
IAC was moved,
Oh,
Mr.
That's on Wednesday, the 8th, David.
Oh, you moved.
Hold it, the 7th?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, good. I apologize.
I believe the 6th is clear.
Yeah, so the IAC.
So
was
9 a.m.?
Thursday, the 8th.
okay, I'm gonna put 9 a.m.
Thursday.
And what I'll do is. I'll
Mike, you
try
have
to-
you have two hands up there.
I'm so sorry. Ms. Hess, I'm sorry. I didn't see those.
Hi, I just want to be clear though, even though if we're going to do social distance, but I could still do it remote.
Yes,
Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you.
Ms. Erickson?
So I just wanted to ask about the April RTM meetings, because normally we go out and we do a little preview, and April RTM meetings, the first one would be the 5th, so we might not necessarily be complete with our business. Is there any thought to moving decision day to the 31st, to do it the 31st and the 1st? So we can,
No, the RTM meeting is on the 19th. I believe the committee meetings are on the 12th.
Yes, we checked that.
No,
You
I
did,
think
okay.
I
Thought
Did
they
they move
changed
it?
it because
I
of
thought
spring
they
break.
changed it because of the school break.
I looked at the calendar, but I'll look again.
On the
me
town
double-
calendar, I'm on the town calendar now. There are meetings April 5th and April 6th on the town calendar for the.
Okay,
Just to remind everybody, the legal notice has to be posted 10 days before the meeting.
That's before the May meeting.
Be- Before, okay, you're right, yeah.
Is it?
so here's my thought on the 6th. My next topic on this item was RTM coverage. And obviously, there's some of us, because of our liaison assignments, we're covering RTM district, or I'm not districts, excuse me. We're covering some of the RTM committee. I was going to work up a list for coverage in April and May. And I just think that, we're just going to have to just, do our best. If we're not finished, we're not finished. I think after the workshop, what I'm really hoping, and I mean, we borrowed the idea of a workshop from the Board of Ed, and I think it's been successful. I think the workshop usually narrows down our lists of where the discussions are going to be. least that's my hope anyway.
Mike, that workshop is at 5 o'clock on the 29th, the 30th?
11:30, both days are 11:30.
Are we moving it to 11:30? Okay.
Yes. Yep. So, and my hope is we'll have a better idea after that. But even after that, between the public hearing and the workshop, I think both caucuses, that middle day is probably needed for any modifications and thought that might come out of that. So going back to RTM coverage, I will make up a format. Obviously, you know how I try to do it. It's very difficult. If we're going to cover a meeting this month with one person, I try to have the opposite political party cover it the next month.
Mike, I just want to go back to Laura's point. I don't think we should be going to RTM committee meetings to present a budget that our committee has not yet voted on. We have a recommended budget, but we know that changes for the full BET. So we can certainly comment on issues, but
Correct.
they're going to be looking for, well, what's the answer? What's the final budget? And I don't want different messages coming from different members.
I think Leslie's point is very well taken, but Leslie, what in the calendar can be a solution?
Yes.
Well, there is not an obvious solution. One is we can all vote very quickly on it.
Yeah, I
first.
like that. That's very efficient. I
And
vote
we
for
can-
Leslie's idea.
Talk a lot less than we typically do. Maybe somebody who has the conflict in the morning, the people who have the conflicts in the morning, maybe can do something so we can start earlier that day. We could, the budget workshop, maybe we have the budget workshop before, the week before, instead of after the public hearing, and we move our decision day up a day earlier.
Look, these are all potential solutions, but it's very hard to go start doing that without having everybody look at this conversation.
I know.
The best idea is you have to wait for 12 emails to come back, and that gets challenging. That's the problem I run into. The other issue is I think is important is that Roland, I'm hoping everybody gets any budget, what do you call them, Roland? Budget amendment forms to Roland. So when we go to 11:30 on Tuesday at the workshop, we've got at least a list. There can always be additions or modifications, or a number could change or something like that. But I'm hoping that Roland has all of that available for us ahead of our workshop. Again, I'm trying to get the issues, flushed out that we have to have discussions on. I'm trying to do that at the same time.
I would say the third alternative is that we don't cover the April RTM meetings. Typically, in my experience, there aren't a lot of detailed questions about the budget. The RTM's not totally focused on it yet. That some committees have started meeting, but not many. So they may hear a presentation and they're very polite listening, but I don't know how much they're really absorbing because they haven't done much with it yet.
You
So
can go out to the districts, you just can't go out to the committees. The
Right.
districts are Wednesday and Thursday. By Wednesday morning, we will have already voted, hopefully.
correct.
And that also corresponds to, Tom Byrne, who basically says May is the budget deliberations for the RTM. So I don't think we would have any problems not going to committee meetings.
And quite frankly, the last couple of years, I mean, maybe I've been doing this for a while, but the last couple of years, I've gone to meetings and they have department heads in there in April talking to them. They're not talking to us. They're talking to the department heads.
They're not ready to hear the budget as a whole yet.
I agree. I agree. All right, let's try to.
Hold on, Mike, please. Laura's got a hand up. I
I'm
think.
sorry, Laura Erickson, I'm sorry.
I mean, as I was listening to the budget committee's deliberations, I thought to myself, this is going to be a slightly unusual year because in addition to the budget, there's also all these accounting changes. So I would hope that, not to put more work on Roland and Pete, but I would hope that some sort of, I think Leslie mentioned this, some sort of memo or something addressing those issues could go out. So we don't have to spend a lot of time covering that particular issue. If that's possible.
If I could just, first of all, thank you very much. I think the 4 budget committee members have agreed to do a sort of a transmittal letter from their work to the full BET, which will be the document we can use on that. I think the 4 of them are working on that together now and have some ideas, and they can speak for themselves. But no, I agree, and I think they're one step ahead of us already.
So I guess the question is, we have consensus then that we will not cover committee meetings and district, or will we be covering district meetings
Well,
for
I
the
would say
April?
we should plan on the district meetings for sure, because we will, if we're not done by the afternoon of the 6th, that's,
No, but keep in mind, again, just to throw out another challenge, we won't have any prepared
That's
documentation
the other problem.
from Roland yet on the summary of what we've done. And, so you have nothing you can hand out. I know Ms. Tarkington always goes to her meetings with the 11 by 14 printout of the budget schedule and would like that as something so people can look at documents as we're talking. I think I agree with Karen that potentially we don't attend the April meetings, or was it Jeff, that maybe this year we just stick to May, since we're voting so late.
yes, we can easily adjust that. And I could talk to Tom and say, because a bunch of us cover those meetings anyway as liaisons, so we could do that. The one good thing is we'll have a consistent message. We might not be done with the budget until late on the 6th. That's a consistent message. Nobody will be able to argue it. And not only that, but when you go to the districts, if you're smart, you pick the districts that have good cookies. Those are the districts you got to go to.
Yeah, but it's all virtual, Mike.
That's all virtual. No,
So can I just reiterate what we're saying here is that for April, we're not necessarily going to the meetings to present anything on the budget. If we go as liaisons to listen and to offer whatever we need to offer from a budget perspective for that month. And that the statement should be that, we've had late deliberations. We'll be more than happy to speak with you in detail in May. Did I summarize that correctly?
I think that's the only thing we can do.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Karen.
No
All
problem.
right. So I'm going to I'll work on RTM coverage for May. I'll get this on a formal email out to everybody, including Roland and Pete. And again, just, it really works better when everybody tries to get their thoughts in, try to talk to the other members and try to, figure out what it is. I see a few items in this. I don't really know how things are going to go on a few of these items. And every day seems like a new adventure. And then there's COVID and, there's a lot going on. This is going to be one of the more challenging because we know what we know. Last year, we didn't know anything. And this year we know what we know. It's probably worse. So anyway,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Raymer.
I just want to recap, be sure I have it right. So the plan right now is that the decision day is going to start on April 1st at 11 a.m. or 11:30.
I can do either one.
Well, I just wanted to pick one. I just wanted to leave here with a certainty. It could be changed, but I thought we'd at least come to some agreement. 9 a.m. on Tuesday the 6th.
Yes. So here's what I have, Mr. Raymer.
Pick one. Let's pick one.
Here's what I have. Public hearing on the 29th, 6:30 p.m. normal. Okay.
Yes.
30th, I have 11:30 workshop.
Okay.
So the 1st, April 1st, 11:30
Yes.
decision day. And we'll put a note that we're shutting down at 4 o'clock or whatever time Roland and Peter say we have to shut down.
But 11 o'clock is the start?
I have 11:30 for both is what I wrote.
Oh, okay.
Then on the 6th, if we need the 6th, it'll be 9 a.m.
Okay. Did we not advertise the public hearing to be at 7, not 6:30?
We did, Jeff. I was just going to bring that up.
Okay. I don't remember posting that. Okay.
I don't know if it's been posted. I thought there was some advertisement of it, some expression of that.
Okay.
Mike, it's in the public notice that was published in the paper on Saturday.
Got it. I actually took that off of, we have two calendars. We have the budget committee calendar and then we have the everything calendar. I must have picked it up off of one of those, but I'll check it and you'll have an email from me tonight clarifying all of this.
Okay. All right. Right. That answers.
Where your hand is up?
Yes, I wanted to just ask, you had discussed it or identified maybe of adding a second workshop. I just want to confirm that at this point, you are not planning a second workshop.
I am not planning a second one at the moment. I am open to 11 people's requests. But I didn't, it's such a tight week. And then what happened is when the Friday popped up and now we carry it, if we have to carry it to the next week, I said, oh boy, this is
Now,
getting intense.
If you were to schedule another workshop, it would have to be the week before.
I would think yes.
So, so like the 24th, 25th. Do I have my dates wrong?
No, you have them right. 24th is
so-
Wednesday, 25th is Thursday.
24th, 25th, or 26th. But if this board wants to do that, and I'm not sure, I don't think any of us has discussed it, but we should get it in the books quickly, just so people's schedules don't.
Right. I would lean towards as late in the week as possible on that. But, and again, there's no voting at that. So there's, somebody, it's just a good time to collate thoughts and have the dialogue. I read my email. If people want to have it, I would say, look at the end of the week and shoot me an email and we'll just send it to everybody. I mean, this is 12 of us. All right.
We're spending a lot of time together. I'm questioning whether we need that 2 days before the second workshop, but that there isn't time to do much work between the two meetings. But okay.
Yeah, for my part, I believe we can get along with one workshop on Tuesday, the 30th.
I mean, we should, by then, everybody should have some pretty good thoughts of where we are. And, if you need any material, you should have plenty of time to get it between now and then. All right. I knew this was going to be a tough item on the agenda, but thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. It's just too hard to do this by email and wait for emails to come back. So I really appreciate everybody. Chair's report. I have, obviously there's quite a lot of dialogue going on. You're hearing about the meeting. I was fortunate with Ms. Erickson to attend the groundbreaking for the Cardinal Stadium. They're really excited. They had a ceremony there, PTA, council, Board of Ed admin, superintendent, some Board of Ed members, some RTM members. And the best is they had all the sports represented by the students, which is that was really good to see. Short little event, very nice. They're really motivated for that project. That was fun to attend. There's just lots of dialogue going on. There's a group putting together a public-private partnership for a Glenville sort of neighborhood project. There's there's a bunch of good projects going on in the community. Everybody's getting ready for spring. Parks and Rec Department is gearing up for full camps and summer camps and all that. So it's good to see. And it's just busy times and, lots of phone calls on the budget. What do you think of this? Where do you think that's going? What's happening here? And so, and I'm getting help with the answers on some of it because obviously I can't go from memory every time I get called. So, but that's really what I have going on right now. So it's all positive, which brings us to item 12, BET regular committee meeting minutes for February 22nd.
You have one set of minutes to consider and approve. They're in your package, everybody. I'll move them.
Okay, on behalf of the clerk, the minutes are moved for the February 22nd meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Moriarty. Discussion, additions, corrections? Can I get a show of hands for all those in favor? That looks like everyone. Is there anybody opposed or abstaining? Everybody was here? Okay, I'm going to show that as 12-0-0. And that is it, everyone. We made it through. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Ms. Erickson's motion, Ms. Cruiser's second. Everyone, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good night, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for all your help.